And Commissioner Gonzalez, will you lead us in prayer?
Yes, I will. Heavenly Father, Lord, we come before you this afternoon. First of all, in gratitude, thank you for all that you have blessed us with. We ask that you come and help us in these proceedings, this meeting here at the San Juan County Commission, that you guide us, give us the wisdom, give us the knowledge to do the best that we possibly can for our county. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Commissioner McDaniel, will you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started now. And I need let's see. So, do we have any changes in the agenda for today?
Madam Chair, we do. For new business, item number 1, Mr. Crawford's unable to join us tonight, and so I'm going to push that item, with your permission, back to a future meeting.
Okay.
Make sure we find them.
All right. So can I go ahead and have a motion with the change to the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. So we'll go ahead and we'll go down to the consent agenda. And I'll read off. There looks like there's 11 of them. So number 1, consideration of regular meeting minutes from December 17th, 2024. Number 2, consideration of regular meeting minutes from January 7th, 2025. Consideration of finance check registers for December 2024. Consideration of treasurer check register for December 2024. Consideration of FY25 budget adjustment number 9, resolution number 242554. 6, consideration for renewal of proposal 212213, on-call building automated system and facility HVAC services to Farmington Heating and Metal of Farmington. Number 7, consideration of renewal of bid number 232411, price agreement for parking lot asphalt services to Prestigious Paving LLC of Gallup, New Mexico, and XL Concrete Company, Inc. of Farmington, New Mexico. Number 8, consideration for award of bid 242513, price agreement for the purchase of magnesium chloride for the Desert Mountain Corporation of Kirtland, New Mexico. Number 9, consideration for award of proposal 242511, Energy and Water Auditing and Consulting Services to RDH Building Science, Inc. of Denver, Colorado. Number 10, consideration of resolution number 242553, authorizing the City of Farmington's submittal of the FY 2026 LDWI Detox Grant application. And number 11, consideration of resolution number 242552, certifying annual San Juan County maintained road mileage to NMDOT. Do I have a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the 11 agenda items.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, I have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. So we'll go on down to the new business agenda, and we'll go on to number 2. And this is a presentation by Ms. Jill Adair and also Christine Carlson.
So good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. So thank you for having us. My name is Jill Adair. I am the Northwest Region Director with Presbyterian Medical Services, and I oversee the program that we're going to do a presentation on today, which is out of our Totah campus. It's our Sobering Center and our Joint Intervention Program. So I have with me today Christine Rito. She is our Regional Behavioral Health Clinical Administrator, and she's going to be the one that will actually be doing the presentation for you and providing you with all the great updates that we've had over the past year.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you allowing me to come and present to you. I know some of you are familiar with our program, some of you I think maybe not so much, so please be patient with me. I am going to at one point turn part of it over to Esteban Rodriguez. He's our administrator of that program. And we're going to end with two of our relatives in the program who'd like to share with you what the program means to them. So you'll see a little bit of our campus here on this first slide. The building in the background is our main building. That's the outpatient services. Totah actually was founded with just outpatient counseling, therapy, case management, and traditional Dene healing services. Obviously, since then we've grown. The picture next to it is the Pathway to Recovery, which was actually a Leadership San Juan project. They did a great job with the landscaping, but that pathway leads to the Sobering Center. And I'm going to start a little bit with the Campus of Care and then talk about the Sobering Center. So Totah has been in the Farmington community since 2001. We actually have some of our original staff. I'm very proud of that. We were initially founded as a collaborative with the city, the county, the hospital, Four Winds Recovery Center, and PMS, and the Navajo Nation. And as we started planning, we looked at the population that we were serving, which was the homeless population struggling with addiction and mental health problems. And the Navajo Nation spoke very clearly about the need for us to take on the concept of ke, or clanship, as our main philosophy for treating the people we serve, and we still hold that true today. And as part of that, you'll hear us talk about our relatives. We don't say clients, we use the term relatives. It really changes how we interact with people. So this is just an overview of sort of how we fit, because it gets a little crazy as I start talking. But Totah is a program directly under PMS. We're very appreciative of PMS. They have kept us going through thick and thin. And then underneath are the programs I'm going to talk about today. The Joint Intervention Program is our year-long program. A lot of people say it's 30 days or 90 days. It's a year-long program. And that is one of the programs the county supports. The services provided under that are under our outpatient services. So that's what you think of normally when you think of counseling and case management and those kind of things. We also have the Sobering Center and the expansion. And again, the county has been an amazing support of the Sobering Center and the expansion. The Sobering Center is a separate entity from the expansion, although they're co-located. So I think next this is our campus. It would be way more exciting with a pointer, but I didn't think about that when I put this together. So sort of as you come down the roadway in, you'll notice there are two kind of non-buildings that are just shapes. The green rectangle is where food services are going to be going in. We're very thankful to the Path. Daily Bread is going to be relocating there at some point to serve breakfast and lunch. The blue circle is something called the CTC. Hopefully we'll locate it there, the Crisis Triage Center, and I'm sure you've heard a little bit about that.
Just a little bit.
The building next to the Crisis Triage Center, that looks like yeah, thank you. The big building in the front, that is our Sobering Center. The two smaller units on the back, that is the expansion. The Sobering Center is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, year long. And that is where people can go when they're intoxicated, and they need a place to sleep it off, and they need a little bit of medical management. We do have EMTs on staff. They come in, they stay 11 hours. At the end of those 11 hours, we reassess them. They can stay for another 11, or they can go home, or they can go to the back units. And the back units is the expansion, kind of jointly. We worked really hard to create a safe space people for that on campus. The expansion is for sober individuals. And this is great for us. It is an overnight crisis shelter for adults. Anyone can stay there. But also if you're at the Sobering Center and at 3 a.m. you sober up and your stay is over, you can go to the expansion. You don't have to wander around. So directly across from that is our outpatient services. The long skinny trailer behind that is our case management services. The interesting hexagonal building is our Hogan, which was built by the relatives and during a project day redone by the county. So it looks nice. We have a little garden area. The boxed in area includes our sweat lodge. And then the last building on the right is called Paul's Place. It's named after our former director, Paul Ehrlich. And that is a dormitory so that anyone who is in the joint intervention program can stay in the dormitory for up to a year. It looks nicer on the inside. The beds you'll see look a little bit like jail beds. They're called boat beds. They're very functional. We can stack them up, we can add them out, so that we were able to space them better during COVID. If we need to, we can fit up to 84 people within the expansion and the sobering center. We can interchange the beds. That's the outside of our building. No, you're good. You're good. So, oh no, go back. Wait, go back. Sorry. So I want to point out that the sobering center actually opened on March 21st of 2016. At that point, we were one of only 12 in the country. We just presented, Esteban and I, to the National Sobering Coalition, and there are a lot more. It's really exciting. And ours is still the best. The expansion opened a few years later in 2019, and then in 2022, and this was a big thank you to the county, we were able to start being open year-round. And initially there was a lot of, you don't need it in the summer, but we clearly needed it in the summer. We had over 2,000 admissions the first summer we were open, and that has remained steady. Okay, now I can do it. So there's a little bit more of the inside. You'll notice we have some chairs and tables. Not everybody likes to sleep when they're intoxicated, so people can play cards, they can talk with staff. I used to have an MHA who would just read to the guys while they were in there. They loved that. We do whatever we can to keep people in there because it is a voluntary program and they can leave at any time. So it's our job to keep them there and keep them happy. So comparing last year, 2023 to 2024, in 2023, we had 9,472 admissions, which was great and which was up from the previous year. But in 2024, we upped that by 3,000. We had 12,271 admissions. Our biggest month was December with 1,286. Unduplicated people, in 2023, we served 1,025 unduplicated people. We increased that in 2024. We saw 1,155 with an average daily census of about 37. So I am super excited about this slide, and especially about the part that's not printed on there, so you can't read it in advance. We don't close. So during the pandemic, most sobering centers became COVID shelters. We did not. We stayed a sobering center. We only closed for 7 hours, and that was for deep COVID cleaning. So that entire 3-year period of time, my staff was there 24/7. Really proud of them. During this last cold spell in January, the 18th through the 21st, normally the expansion is only open from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. We opened it 24/7, ran it all day Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and a few extra hours on Tuesday. During that time that we would have normally been closed, we saw 57 unduplicated people that we wouldn't have seen otherwise, 13 females, 44 males, and we had 125 admissions. So that's a lot of people who would have just been out in the cold. We were talking about this and a few other things at our staff meeting last week, and trying to figure out a way, because right now it's 7 o'clock, everybody shows up, there's a lot of people at the front door. That's also when the ARU drops off people. And so Esteban and I had a brilliant idea that, like, why don't we start doing some intakes in the back? And they said, why don't we open earlier? And I said, I'm not giving you extra staff. There's no more staff. Despite that, they worked it out. We're running a pilot right now where we're opening at 5 p.m. If all goes well, the next week and a half, we will permanently be opening at 5. The nice thing about that is that the Totah building, the outpatient building across, Monday through Friday, has an open lobby where people can stay until 5. So really happy about that. This is just sort of our trending. So 2017, that was the first full year we were open. We had 6,014 admissions. And again, last year, 12,271. So we've doubled. And I'm going to let Esteban talk a little bit about the joint
I
intervention.
just had one question. What do you mean by unduplicated people?
Separate individuals.
Separate?
So admissions, I might come in 6 times, but I'm still me. So I'm the unduplicated person, and then those 6 times are the admissions.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Esteban Rodriguez. I'm the administrator at the Joint Intervention Program in the Sobering Center with Totah and PMS. So I wanted to share a little bit of the Joint Intervention Program. As Christine mentioned, the San Juan County has a big part with that, along with PMS, San Juan Regional Medical Center, and the City of Farmington. The program was initiated for individuals that are high utilizers of services. And those services are ER stays, detention center stays, sober center visits, contact with law enforcement and fire. And these resources were being used for these individuals where we could kind of better use them somewhere else, especially like law enforcement. They were doing a lot of transport. ARU came in and now is able to transport individuals rather than police getting called out. EMS showing up, the fire truck showing up. They can go ahead and assess the individuals, and if needed, then they can initiate EMS. And if not, they go ahead and bring them to Sobering Center. They pretty much all know which individuals like to come in. They kind of have a route set, but if anybody's needed, and I've utilized them, you can call non-emergency dispatch, and they'll dispatch them out to wherever you're at. So the Joint Intervention Program, as Christine mentioned, it's a year-long program. It's 6 months of treatment, 6 months of aftercare. We do house males and females. Currently, we can house 36 total, 30 males, 6 females. And they're all in different phases and different parts. And the treatment's pretty much specialized to the individual, because it all depends on them coming in. So we have mental health assistants, as you can see in the picture there. They're there 24/7. That program and Sobering Center are also the only 2, if I'm not mistaken, that are 24-hour facilities for PMS throughout the state. So we keep them there to help them out. They're not the clinical team, but they assist the clinical team and keep them informed as far as the living areas and how that's being done. We have a little kitchenette, as you can see in the picture. All the cooking is actually done at the outpatient building. We have a big kitchen. We have 2 kitchen managers now that are certified, and that's where they do the cooking. The MHAs assist them in cooking, but basically what we want them to do is make sure that they know how to do the cooking. So they take turns in the cooking. We can assist them, as I mentioned, but that's primarily all them. Same with cleanup in the kitchen, cleanup in the dorms. They have inspections, they get checks, of course, BACs, random UAs. So we want to help them out and hopefully break them out of that old mindsets and the way of living that they're used to. So that's why it's the length that it is. In the picture, you can see some of the bikes. Farmington PD, I think it was like 2 years ago, had extra bicycles, so they donated them to the program. So we were able to utilize those and kind of give them out to individuals that were moving up through the program and graduating. Not all of them have a license, not all of them want to drive, so the bike came in handy. The furniture that was put together was done by the Farmington Police Department when it initially opened. And we work with them really closely to partner with them so that they can see the individuals not only, intoxicated in the streets, but also so see them on the sober side as they get better. I think we had a city worker come out the other day, and I had seen one of the individuals that he normally sees out on Broadway, and he said, he was really nice. Usually I see him as only drunk, but he was able to talk to him, have a conversation, and see him in a better way, and that's what we're there to help him out. As I mentioned, we work closely with law enforcement. We had them 1 year doing yoga with the relatives. I think one of the officers was coming in, was doing Bible studies. So they work closely with them, and then, just come in for encouragement and check up on them.
So this is just a little demonstration of how much we've grown. So in 2017, we had 22 relatives we served. Prior to that, we were serving about 12 people a year. 2024, last year, we had 97 individuals, so we increased by 75 individuals over the past few years, which is actually a 440% increase, which is awesome. With the expansion in admissions, again, that's about doubled. We've increased our admissions by over 6,000. We're at 204% increase in that area as well. I'm very proud of those numbers. The other thing I want to talk about, that when we looked at our increases, we looked at everything. So we looked at salaries and we looked at staffing and we looked at food. And food has gone up a lot.
No.
And our food budget is huge. And so I think Jill and I both expected that we were spending more per person, and we're actually spending about $300 a year less per person, but we have a lot more people. And as Esteban said, currently we have 36 in the dorm. Theoretically, the dorm is built for 45, but I have to tell you, having recently been in there for a meeting with the 36, we just can't really fit anybody else in there. So, and I'll let Esteban talk about the outcomes from his program.
So the numbers you see here, we took the average of arrest and sobering center stays and ER visits from after the program and then before the program. And that's how we come up with that our numbers are here before you. And of course, it's reducing their numbers of time utilizing those services, but the big picture also is the cost, right? Taxpayers, county, and everybody else. Where they can, part of the program is we also plug them in with a primary care provider so that they're not always going to the ER visit. Normally that's what they're used to, so that's part of the program as well, as we plug them in. It doesn't have to be PMS, just anywhere they can get seen. So which helps with that. If we ever have individuals that, relapse, the sober center's on campus, so we always encourage them to stay there. And do a handoff with the staff from one building to the other. When their time's up, they go ahead and bring them back so that they're not leaving and going off campus, because as we know, once they leave the property, it's a lot harder to encourage them to stay and continue with the program that they're in. Law enforcement's been really positive with Officer Prince, who works with us, made a list, dispatches it amongst all the officers. So they run into those individuals, run the list, they know to bring them to, or they try to encourage them to come back to the campus before they can try to take them to jail or anywhere else. So, as the numbers show there, it's a lot of good percentages where we're utilizing, the resources that we have there to keep them off the streets, keep them out of those places, and hopefully help them reach those goals that they've established.
As exciting as we are, we'd really like you to hear from two of our relatives. I believe we have Preston and Derek with us, if you guys want to come up.
Hello, good evening. How you guys doing this evening?
If you give your name, please.
My name is Preston Bill, representing, Totah.
Okay.
If it wasn't for this program, I'd probably be back on the streets. Ever since I've started this program, it's been helping me a lot. It's helping me with my job. It's helping me get stuff that I always need. I've needed, Therefore, my social security card, my ID, things like that. Within this past 6 months, it's been really helping me learn about my addiction and how it is. People out there on the streets, it's hard for them once they get caught. They want to go back on the streets, and it's very difficult for them to find a ground for them to actually go to classes and actually learn. But once you're on the streets, you're not going to come back. It's very difficult. Me being in this program really helped me sit my foot down for myself and actually learn something and actually want to participate and do something better for my life and what it was within these past 5 years that I've been drinking. And this program with Esteban helping me, it's been really, really helpful this past 6 months. I recently just finished and I'm looking for a job right now, and thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Very good.
Good.
Nervous.
You are. You're doing great.
Good evening. My name is Derek Allen. I'm one of the relatives at the JIP intervention program. And I would just like to thank Totah for being there, because when they were talking about the sobering center, I've been through that like many times with my addiction. And I finally gave my life to God, and He's the one who sobered me up. And Totah's been there for me, because if it wasn't for Totah, I would have went back onto the res and ended up doing the same old thing that I was hard to get out of. So it was voluntary when I went over there, but now I think it's court ordered for people to go there. But I really appreciate Totah for being there. They're kind, they're teaching us how to get back into the world, they're helping everybody out. And at times I see people on the streets too, right, sleeping on the on the concrete out there, and it kind of breaks my heart. Like, man, I wish Totah could, or somebody could just help them out with a place to stay, you know, a place to sleep. And I know that everything that Totah is doing the best they can for us and for people to be sober, and even like anything like laundry during the day, showers during the day for people and to help them out. That really kind of touches my heart a lot too. The staff are really nice, they're really kind, and they're doing the best they can. And I believe that if you guys help them out, they will continue to grow and prosper into this world. And it's all thanks to God though, for bringing people like that into this world. Because not many people out there care about us and our addictions. You know, they don't want to help us. They look at us. In the Bible talks about Good Samaritan, right? And I believe Totah is one of the Good Samaritans. And I'm thankful for Totah. I'm thankful for the staff. And right now, I'm doing pretty good. I haven't relapsed. I've been continuing doing what I need to do. And it was always been Totah there for me. I have a place to go. Everything is close to town. My probation check-in is right there. And if they have even provide the rides to the vehicles. Sometimes the rides too, we kind of lack on rides, but we probably need some more. And like field trips too, you know, maybe like it's good because going out, it kind of made me think that you could do things sober going out. You know, you don't have to drink just to have fun. And I believe that maybe if Totah had some more things to do, you know, like on outings, maybe like bike rides or take the relatives out to see the world maybe. Yeah, or like something fun, you know, to get us out of that little area sometimes in the dorm. Yeah, and it's a chill spot, but sometimes we kind of get too comfortable in there. But
Let me ask you this, are you at JIP right now? Are you staying there for the year? And have you both been there the whole time at the same time? How much longer do you have?
I recently finished the program, but I'm in aftercare right now. For myself, I'm kind of scared to go back into the real world, knowing that this has only been 6 months in my sobriety. I know that if I go out there, that it might hit me harder than it would come. So I prefer to stay a little bit longer and learn more about sobriety before I go out there and take a big step of me actually going into the real world for me to take on without, like you said, doing stuff without the influence of alcohol or going to work drunk or even under the influence of having time with the family. So I've been there, to answer your question, I've been there for 6 months now.
I'd like to commend you both for doing that, and thank you for coming and being transparent with us to actually come in front of people to tell us, because you put faces to the names of the individuals that we just see some of the stats. So thank you for doing that. Okay.
It's good to see the outcome of what takes place at Totah to actually get you up here and witness to the process. It's encouraging, and I encourage you to, you know, come and put an application at Los Hermanitos. We may have a place for you. We may, and I understand how important it is that you stay sober, and you know, maybe we can help get you there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just for the sake of time, is there anything else that you'd like to present on, Esteban? Okay, Christine? Okay. Thank you for bringing them. Yep, thank you. Thank you. Now we'll move on to, annual update of the San Juan County Historical Society, Laura Lee Harper.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Hi, I'm Laura Lee Harper, President of the San Juan County Historical Society, and it's a pleasure to be here. Good evening, honorable members of the San Juan County Commission, Glogene Totagini, Sandra Lanier, welcome. It's great to see you, Terry Fortner, and Gary McDaniel, and Sam Gonzalez. On behalf of the San Juan County Board of Directors, thank you for your generous funding. We love it that we received $7,500 from you, and thank you. That keeps our doors open. Our 24 volunteers work nearly 1,000 hours to meet the requirements of our mission, and that doesn't include any of the Facebook administrator Mike Maddox's contributions or hosting all of our county events that we put on. So let's begin with the slides. Our mission: is to collect and preserve historical documents for future generations for important research. Since 2021, we have created computerized membership database. We've inventoried our archives. We've organized the building to create efficient space and created an official San Juan County Historical Society library. Our goal for 2025 is to get our San Juan County Historical Society website up and working and running for the intent to bring, of course, tourism and interest into our San Juan County. Let's go to slide 2. I guess I do this. Do I know what button to push? Okay. So let's look at our money. We have for 2024 an income of $16,000. Our expenses were $11,000, and this is operational with a net income of $5,000. So we're excited about that. We have maintained, next slide. We have maintained $14,000 for operational expenses and a savings account of $36,000. We assure our San Juan County benefactors, that is you, that we adhere to our mission to build a research database to archive our collections, and it will require some professional contracting as we get into this into the future. There's the fun part. Our community events. If you look there, there's a hodgepodge of fun events that we have. We had Alyssa Landry with the Thomas H. Begay and the Code Talkers. The Aztec Museum in Pioneer Village collaboration to celebrate 60 years, and that was very exciting. We also got to participate and was invited with the San Juan County Commission to celebrate your good works in dedicating the Aztec Cedar Hill Bridge. That was a fun event to attend. And then we had an event, we presented the San Juan County drive-ins. And then, of course, in Farmington, the Oktoberfest, and I got to speak with the mayor at the Mayor's Table podcast. And then to top it off, we had the Carrizo. We did a presentation on that great tributary of the Largo Canyon and its homesteader, the Abeta families. And so that was really fun. Here's a little, I always like to share a little bit of why we exist. And so let's look at some old houses, just for the fun of it before closing. Beginning on the left, we have the Smith home place before remodeling, and that was courtesy of Alice Smith Fenton. And what we find is there are a lot of architectural blends, and so that house is an early American type. In the middle, we have the H.D. Abrams home. That's courtesy of the National Registry and more Victorian. On the right, on the top, we have Richard Ridenauer House on 507 White Street, and that was courtesy of the Bora collection, and it's more of like a Gothic revival. And then on the bottom, we have Maclavio Archuleta homestead that he built. It's shaped in a T, so a lot of times the left side would be used for a priest or a teacher that would stay in the home with the family. So I thought that was interesting. The architect type is more like a salt box form, and that was really characteristic of the New England type houses that came over to our area in the Southwest. And then now on the right is really interesting to me because it's the Robert Hughes Woods home. And of course, he was the founder of Woods Insurance and a former Civil War soldier that came this way. And he built this house in 1909. And it was later restored in 1937 by Elmer Alfonso Taylor and now owned by me. So it's real exciting to present that to you. So it is the courtesy of the San Juan County Historical Society Marilu Wayborn collection and is in more of the neoclassical style. So with that, I want to thank you so much for your support. And I want to also recognize some of our members that are here tonight to thank you and show you our appreciation. And so let's recognize our treasurer, Jan Howell, longtime member, Zhang Wood, and member Connie Nordstrom. Excuse me, I don't know what's going on with the weather these days, but Connie Nordstrom and new member Brett Lanier. So with that, are there any questions? And again, thank you so much. As our benefactors, we really appreciate you.
Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Madam Chair, history is important. I subscribe to Smithsonian magazine, and it's amazing what you read in there. And I am glad that you are recording the elders and what's happening in the community, photographs. I think it's a wonderful service that you do. So thank you.
Thank you
And
so
Zane,
much.
Good
Yes.
to see you.
The issue of oral history is becoming very important to us, and we're starting to put some of that oral history into the movie genre. So we did that with Carrizo and hope to do more of that in the future. So thank you so much.
Hey, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
All right, next on our agenda, we have Fire Chief David Vega, a presentation about the fire season considerations and outlook.
Madam Chair, Commission, good afternoon. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. And we've had two great presentations. I hope to keep the momentum up here with some wildfire awareness. But, want to talk about the wildland fire season coming up and also provide some historical context. And, the Commission may remember, just a few weeks back, our news cycle moves, so quickly anymore. But, a few weeks back, the fires burning in the San Juan Basin were, you turned on any TV channel, and that's what they were talking about. During that time, I sent Mr. Stark an email just with some thoughts and perspectives on that, and I believe he had the opportunity to forward that on to the Commission. But in that, I put in there something specific, and it was a term that I'd heard on the news station from several different people say these fires were unprecedented, and I had an issue with that. Fires in the West, and specifically here in the Southwest, are hardly unprecedented, and we've certainly seen our fair share of large fires in San Juan County, and we're going to continue to see our fair share of large wildland fires in San Juan County. So I want to talk just briefly about some of our large wildland fires, and then give the Commission some situational awareness in terms of what our outlook is. And unfortunately, as it stands today, it's kind of bleak. But we'll get started. I appreciate Chief Gilbert helped me put this together. And this is the first time we've ever used a storyboard. We thought we'd change it up. We typically do a PowerPoint, and we thought let's change it up and actually give the Commission a storyboard. So we'll kind of go through this, and I appreciate Chief Gilbert helping me put this together. But just a real brief overview of who we are, specific, our equipment here, the tools and the resources that we have to respond to wildland fires in San Juan County. 25 fire engines, 22 brush trucks, of course, our water tenders. Our water tenders are extremely important to us. We don't have a whole lot of fire hydrants in San Juan County, and you may remember that as being a talking point during the San Juan Basin, or excuse me, the Los Angeles Basin fires, that there weren't water sources or the water support sources ran out. We certainly have a similar challenge here in San Juan County. We don't have a whole lot of fire hydrants. So anywhere we go, we're taking our own water with us in those water tenders. And we'll talk a little bit about that more as we go on. We do have a rapid extrication module that we're really excited about, and we're going to put that out available nationally this year. And what that is, it's kind of a Mayday team, if you will. So if a wildland firefighter goes down in the backcountry, this team of firefighters are specially trained to get that firefighter out of the backcountry and to definitive care, ideally within an hour. And they're trained in different skill sets above and beyond what we normally train our firefighters in. We're really excited to get that out nationally. There's a need for those individuals to support the national wildland fire system. We're pretty proud. We have a staff of firefighters that has a lot of wildland fire qualifications in the terms of national incident qualifications. We've got 2 Type 3 incident commanders, myself and Chief Gilbert, a couple type 4 incident commanders, division supervisors, and I won't read the whole list, but we're able to integrate very effectively with our federal partners in the National Incident Management System and in that world. We work very closely with our neighbors, and I'll just highlight a few of these here. Again, you can look at the list, but we work very, very closely here in San Juan County with the Bureau of Land Management. We work hand in hand with them. The land status is, as the commission knows, is so checkerboard. So during initial attack periods, it's quite often that we'll initial attack fires on BLM land, and the BLM will initial attack fires on private land. And we work very, very closely to accomplish those suppression efforts. We also work very closely with the Bureau of Indian Affairs, of course, the Forest Service, all of our neighboring fire departments in both northern New Mexico and southern Colorado, and we have good relationships with those entities. I want to talk about wildland fires in the urban interface, and that's a term that you probably heard a lot. But what is the wildland urban interface? And that's really the area where man-made structures have encroached into the wildland. So the complexity that lies there is when we get fires burning in the wildland urban interface, not only do you have the vegetation that's on fire, but now those fires are impacting man-made structures or man-made materials. So you have two different styles of firefighters that is going on concurrently, both wildland firefighting, and now you've got a structure component, and we'll show some slides here in just a few minutes, and that really highlights what those look like. But the map below that comes right out of our San Juan Basin Community Wildfire Protection Plan. Here in San Juan County, our bosque systems are high-risk wildland urban interface areas. So the Animas River bosque coming out of Colorado, of course the San Juan River bosque that comes right through basically the middle of the county, and then the La Plata River bosque. In those corridors, those are highly dense populated corridors with a lot of structures. So when we do get fires in there, those fires are automatically impacting structures. And if we go on, you can see we have labeled those as high-risk areas. So Bloomfield, of course, is a high-risk area. The northern zone, north of the county here, all high-risk. The southeast zone, Blanco and Lee Acres, out to Kirtland over the west side, these are all high-risk areas, meaning, again, that if we have a fire that gets established in those areas, we know that there's going to be a situation where they're impacting structures immediately. And we've also identified in that CWPP that within our first due protection area, there's 34,000 housing structures that lie within that wildland urban interface area. So again, it's densely populated land that if we do get a fire in there, we know it's going to be impacting structures immediately. A couple of slides here that really, I think, show very well what we're talking about in terms of the wildland urban interface. To your right there, and I believe this is the Harper Valley subdivision, if I remember correctly. You can see the river running through the middle there, and then on either side of the river, those riparian areas are just thick Russian olive and salt cedar. The pictures really don't do it justice. In some areas, it's even impossible to walk through that. The fields are 12 to 15 feet high. It's when a fire gets established in that, it's almost impossible to go what we call direct on it. So we have to back out, look for opportunities to either burn out or engage the fire in a safer manner. But you can also see the structures encroach right onto that wildland urban interface there. So again, if a fire gets established in that vegetation, you can see that automatically it's impacting structures. This picture, I think, is a really powerful picture because it highlights what a lot of our wildland urban interface fires look like. Of course, the Harper Valley subdivision that you just saw, very manicured subdivision. Unfortunately, that's not the norm. This is the norm that's out there. So you can see the vegetation down at the bottom of the screen's been burned. We got a quick hook on this fire, and I can't remember. I think we lost a couple trailers, if I remember. But what happens, and this is the way this sets up, we get a vegetation fire, and then you can see the trailers and the RVs and the other flammable materials in the background. So fire gets established in this, and then it's off to the races. Very common for us to again encounter RVs, trailers, abandoned homes, and these become very, very labor intensive fires. You can imagine if these trailers and RVs and single wide had caught fire, that's very labor intensive. Hours, if not days, to fully suppress a fire that gets established in here. This is a pretty typical Bosque fire for us in terms of fire behavior. So again, just for some context, the fuels in this picture are probably 15 feet high. The flames are probably 40 to 50 feet high. You'll notice the smoke is black. The Russian olive and the salt cedar have a resin and oil in them that's extremely flammable. So again, you can understand when I say you can't really go direct on this. We have to look for opportunities where we can back out, engage in a safer manner, go indirect, look for opportunities to burn out, because that's just going to do what it's going to do. And there's the reality is we don't have enough manpower or water to really suppress this without the use of air tankers or large mechanical equipment. Just a video of that so the commission has an idea of how fire burns in these fuels. Very, very volatile fuels. Again, just a couple slides here of a typical wildland urban interface fire. I believe this was in Ignacio. This was a fire that Chief Gilbert was on a couple years ago. Again, what I like about these pictures, you can see the fire actually burning right up to the green manicured lawn. That's the on your right. That's the casino in Ignacio. You can see the air tanker up on the corner there, actually laying in a line of retardant right behind the casino. And again, this is a true wildland urban interface fire, and this is the reality of what we deal with out there. I want to talk just very briefly about some historical large fires that we've had, and these were fires that I've all been on. But I want to talk about the 4901 fire, and this was a fire that happened back in 2012. And you may be asking yourself, well, why are we talking about a fire from 2012 when we've had a number of large fires since then? This is the largest fire that, as far as we know, the largest fire that San Juan County fires had, wildland urban interface wise. And again, this was a fire that I was on, but this fire started June 18th, 2012 out in Blanco. All said, it ended up burning 352 acres. So this was a large fire. It impacted a large area. We lost 5 primary residential structures. Again, those were structures that were occupied, that people were living in. We lost another 12 outbuildings, shops, garages, things of that nature. We hurt some folks on this. We had a firefighter go down. We had a couple law enforcement officers get injured, smoke inhalation. At the height of it, we had 120 firefighters, and this was started by an abandoned campfire. So kind of an interesting thing here. The original call went out at the end of County Road 4901, and 4901 is roughly between Bloomfield and Blanco, and 4901 dead ends right at the river on the north side. We had an engine company on scene very quickly. The original size up was a fire about a quarter acre in size that was moving. Within 10 minutes, the fire had spotted across the river, so now we had fire burning on both sides of the river. Within 30 minutes of this fire going out, we had almost every county fire resource committed to this fire. Within an hour of this fire burning, we had pretty much every available firefighting resource in San Juan County committed to this fire. That included City of Farmington Fire Department, Bloomfield Fire Department, Aztec Fire Department. So the entire system was taxed. About an hour and a half into this fire, we were starting to impact our neighbors in Colorado. We had resources coming down from La Plata County, Durango Fire, Los Pinos Fire, Upper Pine Fire. We were also starting to tax state resources at that time. So this was a really rapidly expanding incident. You'll see the Turley Fire right below this. So kind of important note here. About an hour and a half into the 4901 fire, the Turley fire broke out. And of course, Turley is up 511 going towards Navajo Dam. When this fire kicked out, we had absolutely no resources to respond to this fire. As luck would have it, a Los Pinos engine that was coming down to assist on the 4901 fire was literally driving by this fire as dispatch was toning it out. So they got on scene. They were able to hold heroic efforts, really. They were able to hold one engine. They were able to hold the fire to 3 acres. Unfortunately, they did lose a residence and out of that, and that was started by a catalytic converter. But interesting to know, had that Los Pinos engine not been driving down at that right time, there's a good chance that that fire would have gone 300 acres and destroyed several homes itself. So, I want the commission to recognize that it doesn't take much to overwhelm the system here, our resources here in San Juan County, and really start impacting our regional neighbors. Some other kind of big fires, the 5758 fire. This was in June of 23. Again, interesting here. One wasn't residential structure, 4 outbuildings, multiple vehicles. I believe Commissioner or Chairman Fortner came out and did a site visit of this fire. Again, interesting note here, the vegetation component was actually very small. I think it was less than an acre, actually, the vegetation component. But it got into a property that was cluttered, very similar to the picture that you saw earlier. We were on this particular fire for 3 days in total before we were able to achieve complete suppression on it. And again, completely overwhelmed the system. We had every bit available tender in San Juan County on this fire. There was no water, so we had to bring in all of our water. Estimate using about 30 to 40,000 gallons of water. I'll just say that again. We estimated between 30 and 40,000 gallons of water in total to suppress this one fire. Wild Horse Valley fire, the 5777 fire. Again, this is another fantastic fire in terms of fire behavior. But this was in July of 2020. We had lost one structure, but interesting thing here, we lost an RV and 13 vehicles, abandoned vehicles, were on this property. Again, when you're fighting that much fire, it's extremely labor intensive because you're having to recycle firefighters. Imagine the heat that you feel from a campfire, magnetize that by about 10,000 in your structure gear. And, if you're not recycling firefighters constantly, firefighters are going down. So these fires that get established in these wildland urban interface areas, extremely labor intensive. In the interest of time, I'll just keep going on here, but some common factors. And again, I'll try to tie this back into, the fires that were burning in the Los Angeles, basin. These fires are rapidly expanding, meaning that they grow very, very quickly. All right. It's never just one structure or one vehicle. These fires are burning in remote areas. It takes time for us to get there. Oftentimes the roads are narrow and unimproved, so it's even difficult getting our apparatus into the fire itself. So there's a time lag. And during that time lag, it allows that fire to get very established. So most of the time, especially in remote areas of the county, by the time we get a unit on scene, that fire is well established. It's got a pretty good hold, and we know it's going to be a pretty significant firefight for us. And they grow very, very quickly. The other complexity is, again, as I mentioned in the 4901 fire, the fire behavior is such that the fires spot on both sides of the river. So now we're having to multiply or divide our forces to fight a fire that's established on both sides of the river, and it gets very often complex. I mentioned the roadways, a lot of unimproved sandy roads with sand traps. Those roads are not necessarily friendly to large fire apparatus. As I mentioned earlier, we have to take our water with us everywhere we go. Some of these roads are just not kind to our water tenders. So when the water runs out of our fire truck, we're having to travel back to where our water tenders are staged to fill back up the fire truck and then go back to where the fire's at. So again, all those things create time lag that just allows the fire to grow and grow. They're labor intensive, so we draw down resources system-wide very, very quickly. Evacuations, again, most of the fires burn during the summer here, although I think we're going to have an early fire season. We're constantly worried about kids at home, so we're having to check every house to make sure that there's no kids at home. And again, it just takes people to accomplish all these things. I mentioned the lack of water, the water supply. And then as these fires are burning, there's still emergencies that are happening, right? There's still heart attacks, there's still car accidents. So we have to make sure that we're still able to respond to the emergencies burning in, the other emergencies that are happening, I should say, in the county. So again, that's just an overview of some the fires that are capable and that we have had here in San Juan County. I mentioned I wanted to provide the commission an outlook of this fire season, and unfortunately, right now as it stands, it's pretty bleak. This is the map that you're looking at here is the Predictive Services, the drought monitor. And as you can see, San Juan County right now is listed as abnormally dry, which means we haven't had any significant moisture in a long time. So our soil moistures are very, very dry, which means our fuel moistures are very, very dry, which equals that these fuels are going to be extremely receptive to fire. And if you look at the outlook, that drought index is not expected to get better. In fact, it's supposed to worsen over the next 2 or 3 months. Some interesting maps here in terms of the significant wildland fire potential, and this is a 3-month outlook, so March, April, and May. Again, by April and certainly into May, we're expected to be in the above category for significant fire potential here. I want to focus on May for just a second here, and you can see New Mexico is pretty much all red here. So May is certainly a couple months out, but some good situational awareness for the commission here. Fireworks go on sale in San Juan County or New Mexico on June 18th is when fireworks sales start. We lack the authority to restrict the sale of fireworks, but what we can do is restrict the sale of certain types of fireworks. If we do that, we have to present a resolution in front of the commission 30 days before the sale of fireworks. So that would be me coming in front of the commission in May to present a resolution, a potential resolution to restrict the sale of certain types of fireworks. Again, we cannot ban the sale of all fireworks. We get that question quite often. We don't have the authority to do that. So again, I just want to put May on your radar there as a trigger point in terms of maybe some actions regarding fireworks. Certainly, there's nothing out there to suggest that our conditions are going to improve between now and May. So I would anticipate over the next 2 or 3 weeks us hitting some trigger points to implement some open burning restrictions. So we're certainly encouraging the farm and ranch community to burn their water conveyance systems right now, their ditches, because there's certainly a potential within the next 2 or 3 weeks, certainly by the end of February, if we don't get any significant moisture, that we're going to probably impose open burning restrictions and then increase those restrictions as we get a little bit closer to summer. But again, just some other weather products that we look at. Again, on your right, the precipitation outlook. And again, if you look at the Southwest, but specifically New Mexico, we're supposed to be below normal precipitation. And then if you look to the left, above normal temperatures. So again, I'll just sum that up. The 3-month outlook here, February, March, and April, is calling for below normal precipitation and above normal temperatures. Again, that just dries out the fuels, makes it more receptive to fire. Some uncertainty as we get past May in terms of what the monsoons look like. It's still a little bit early in some of the modeling there. But again, I'll just sum it up, at least for the next 3 months. It doesn't look like there's going to be any relief in terms of significant moisture that's going to reduce the fire danger. So I'm certainly, we are operating in a heightened level of awareness with the fire department. We've already started to see, just within the past 2 weeks, an uptick in our out of control grass fires. We're running about 2 months ahead of where we should be right now, and that's certainly scary. So again, as we get a little bit closer to summer and over the next 2 or 3 months, we'll be monitoring these weather factors very closely. I'm sure I'll be back up here again soon to update the commission on issues such as open burning restrictions, fireworks if it comes to that point. But wanted again just provide the commission some situational awareness of what's out on the horizon, and then to also provide you just some historical context of what's capable of happening in terms of wildland urban interface fires here in San Juan County. With that, I think I'll stand for any questions that the commission may have of me. And Chief Gilbert, anything to add from here? Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Vega. I was curious, how much does one tender, how much water does it carry?
Chairman Foreman, great question. Typically, 1,500 to 2,000 gallons is what our tenders are carrying them.
Okay. So then when you run out with that, you have to go and refill it?
Yeah, so when our tenders run dry, then we're having to go and find a hydrant, the nearest hydrant. And again, that could be, in some instances, several miles away, depending on where we're at. The challenges that we have there is, as the commission is aware, outside the municipalities, most of the hydrants are under the care of water users associations. A lot of those are legacy systems that quite honestly were designed for domestic water delivery. And so when we're having fires that require us to use thousands of gallons of water, up to 40,000 gallons of water, we are putting an extreme strain on those domestic water users. In fact, it's common that we'll drain the entire tank, and then it takes several hours, of course, for those systems to refill. That causes turbidity in the line. So it puts a significant strain when we're using a lot of water like that. And it's very often for us to have to travel 10, 15 miles to find a hydrant that'll support us filling up our water tenders.
Okay, thank you. Other questions?
Madam Chair. Mr. Vega, I've got a question. How close is the nearest helicopter tanker from us? Like a fire, like you said, down there in Blanco, you know, it could take an hour and a half for one of those tankers to get here, but they can drop a lot of water. But I don't know what the feasibility is.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Gonzalez, excellent question. So federal resources are predominantly controlled by our federal partners. They bring those resources on during the height of fire season through contract agreements. Here, because we are so close to the state line, most of the time when we're doing aircraft ordering, it's coming out of the Durango-La Plata County Airport. During the height of fire season, they'll have contract aircraft, helicopters, air tankers. So there's a tanker base at the Durango Airport. Albuquerque hosts a tanker. Cortez has tanker and helicopter capabilities. So we're fortunate where we're at that if we order aircraft, it can get to us very quickly. Now there's some time lag in the actual ordering process, as you can imagine. That order has to go through different dispatch centers. So oftentimes, you know, we'll make an order for aircraft and it could be 30, 40, 50 minutes before the order is actually filled. But once the order's filled, we're usually going to get aircraft to us pretty quickly, whether that's a helicopter, an air tanker. Usually it's going to be, we can have aircraft to us within 20, 30 minutes, depending on where they're coming out of. But that's an excellent question.
Madam Chair, couple years back, San Juan County provided fire service and trained volunteers for the northwest, southwest, south area of the Navajo Nation. And then the Navajo Nation opted to run its own fire department. And I notice in the neighbors, they're not listed. Do you still collaborate with them or inform them? I don't know how well they work with you, but I'm wondering what you do on your end.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Totah, again, an excellent question. We've worked very closely with the Bureau of Indian Affairs, both Navajo Nation and Southern Ute in Colorado. We work with those federal wildland firefighters very, very closely. The challenge that we have with the Navajo Nation Fire Department, again, we believe very strongly in being good neighbors, and we will send mutual aid when requested. Unfortunately, they lack the wildland fire qualifications. So it's sometimes difficult for us to integrate with them at that level because they don't hold those qualifications. But we always will send mutual aid help if requested. We try to make sure they know our operations. Sometimes that's not reciprocated on their side, if I'm being honest. So sometimes that communication is difficult. But I can assure you, Commissioner Totah, we believe very strongly in being good neighbors. We're always going to send help when requested and integrate at whatever level is appropriate.
Crystal, New Mexico is in Gary's district, and they recently had a fire, but I think that was contained probably by Navajo Nation. Is that correct?
Yeah, Madam Chair, Commissioner Totah, that fire happened, I believe, while we were actually in Santa Fe for the legislative session. I want to say that fire went 30 acres. Does that sound? 130. That was contained by Bureau of Indian Affairs, and I don't believe there's any structures lost. It was just vegetation that was burned.
Right.
Thank you for offering that deal. It's hard to work with Navajo Nation sometimes, but you, from your end, do notify them and work with them and collaborate with them. Thank you.
Commissioner Totah, if I may add, along that, we always extend invitations for training as well. We host several training opportunities. There's regional training academies. And we always make sure that they understand that they have a seat at that table. There's not much we don't invite them to in terms of trainings. They've just got to meet in the middle, so to speak.
Yeah, I commend the county, Mr. Stark, for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Vega. It's an interesting presentation. Appreciate
Thank you.
your time. All right, next on our agenda, we have Mr. Steven Saavedra, consideration of resolution number 2425, grant application to the New Mexico Finance Authority for Affordable Housing Plan.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. I come before you to seek your blessing and/or approval of Resolution 24-25-53 so that San Juan County can apply to the New Mexico Finance Authority in the hopes of receiving a grant specifically for an affordable housing plan. And you may ask, what is an affordable housing plan? And I will try to do my best to be clear and concise. Affordable housing plan identifies current housing needs, costs, and availability. Anecdotally, we have heard that San Juan County has a supply shortage with respect to demand of housing, not only in housing that needs to be purchased, but also in the rental units. And Housing Director Stanley will give you an update on where we stand with housing within the Housing Authority. The housing plan also identifies gaps in the housing market, such as shortage in rental units, and affordable homeownership opportunities. The plan specifically has objectives and goals to target increasing or preserving housing within San Juan County, policies and programs recommended to meet the community needs, and incentives for developers, land use policies, and public-private partnership and funding mechanisms. Now, this affordable housing plan will be a roadmap and a tool for San Juan County. A housing plan is not new for our community, nor is it new for San Juan County. In fact, in 2011, it was an affordable housing plan partnered with the city of Farmington, San Juan County. 14 years has passed and markets have shifted, and we know that there is a demand for housing in our community, and we're trying to meet that with the supply of current units. Ultimately, if we're successful, we would be able to come back with this affordable housing plan to the Commission, and perhaps there will be opportunities to present this to NMFA so that there will be incentives and goals and tools similar to LEDA. So when a developer approaches the county, we maybe offer some incentives as little as removing the permit fees for housing, or as higher as looking at tax credits and so forth. But again, this would just be another tool in San Juan County's toolbox. And with that, I will stand for any questions concerning the Housing Authority or Affordable Housing Plan or the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Saavedra. Are there any questions or comments from Mr. Saavedra?
Madam Chair, just a comment. We have a wonderful college up there, and a lot of students are always looking for affordable housing. We have a huge list of students who want to get into the dorms, but there's not enough for them. But this affordable housing, I think, is a good plan, because the students, when they first start off, they're poor. And we all remember that as college students ourselves. So if nobody else is going to comment, I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 242553, this grant application to New Mexico Finance Authority for an affordable housing plan. Do I need to add that letter of support too, or is that already in it?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Totah, it's already included within your motion.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Is there any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. All right, next we have Nicole Brown, consideration of request for budget adjustment for San Juan County Communication Authority.
Hello, Madam Chair and fellow commissioners. I am requesting a budget adjustment to the Communications Authority budget to hire on a radio technician. So right now, the radio technicians are under Office of Emergency Management. The primary, Mr. Charles Rash, is doing an excellent job. He's maintaining everything, and he is a wealth of knowledge, but he does plan to retire. And his second in command, John, is also, retirement is in his sights as well. So also there's the concern of the budget of the radio technicians and all of the radio towers, the maintenance. They maintenance over 25 towers for the entire county, and it's such an integral part of what we do at the communications center. We would like to, as Charles and John retire, kind of absorb that for the communications center, because right now, currently, it's full funded out of the 222 fund, which is a fire and EMS, or I'm sorry, just a fire fund. So we would like to absorb that at the Communications Authority. We feel like that's where it fits best now, and fire can have some of their funding back because they'd like to hire more firefighters. So the budget impact for us at the Communications Center would be, I believe, just over $40,000 for just this fiscal year. Then they'll be added to our manning table on our budget that we'll approve for next fiscal year. And we just are asking for the budget adjustment because we'd like to get started as soon as possible. We can wait until the budget year, but we think the time to get someone on board, have them start training with Charles and John, and get that knowledge base before the retirement happens is really, really important, because it is such a vast system, and they've been working on it, for such a long amount of time that the knowledge they have, the history they know is vitally important. We don't want to lose it. And I think Mr. Duncan here also would like to make some comments about the job.
I would just second all that, Madam Chair. Yeah, Charlie's got well over 40 years of experience. 41. He's a wealth of information. I've known him all that time, and I just find it, we find it necessary. We need to milk him. We need to suck everything he knows and get this into other people so that we don't lose all that. And when you talk about 25 tower sites, I believe there's a map that was included in there.
There it is.
That shows all these sites, and these are countywide, and they extend to some of the most remote areas you could ever imagine, into other counties as well. And this is critical. You talked about the fire. What was that? What was the fire you talked about there in Bluefield East?
The 4901 fire chief.
Yeah, 49. I was there.
Yes, sir.
When I saw it jump the river and call for more help that day. But without that kind of communications countywide, we could, you know, we would be crippled. And it's just a great asset we have in Mr. Lash and his co-workers. So I would hope that y'all would consider this need that we have. I know it's mid-year, and that's kind of unusual, but we believe it's necessary. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Do you have any comments or questions? Okay, do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the budget adjustment for the Communications Authority.
Okay, do I have-
I'll second.
Okay, I have a first and second. Any other discussion or comments? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. If I may extend an invitation to some of the new commissioners to come to Comm Center and get the tour. So,
Thank you.
To do that. Yes.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have Mr. Sawyer with consideration of notice of intent to adopt San Juan County Ordinance Number 128, creating low-income tax rebate.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This agenda item is to consider whether to publish a notice of intent to adopt the low-income tax rebate ordinance. And if you decide to publish it, what is the version you want to publish? Anytime the county wants to pass a new ordinance, Section 4-37-1-7 requires that ordinances shall not be submitted to the board for final passage until a majority of the members have directed the title and general summary of the subject matter of the proposed ordinance to be published one time in a newspaper of general circulation in the county at least 2 weeks prior to the meeting at which the ordinance is proposed for final passage. The reason I'm kind of going over this again is, we have some new commissioners, and I just wanted to make you aware of the publishing requirement before we enact an ordinance. And you may be saying, well, we had a public hearing on January 7th. Why do we need to do this again? Well, it's just the way the statute is written. And there's actually an attorney general's opinion that says that if you fail to publish an ordinance before you pass it, then the ordinance could be invalidated. So we're being extra careful by publishing this ordinance. And at that, at the January 7th meeting, we were required to have a public hearing pursuant to the statute. And if you'll recall, no one showed up to give public comments. So you didn't really have any information to gauge interest, but you decided to go ahead and move forward with the ordinance. What we're doing is that we're asking you to publish the ordinance, which is very simple. What the legal department has done is we've basically said that the county is adopting the low income tax rebate provided in section 7-2-14.3 of New Mexico law. And I provided copies of that statute at your seats. So rather than restate that entire statute, we just say we adopt it. And the main decision for you will be whether you want to do it for 2 years or longer. There's many different approaches you can take. I think staff would suggest that you do a 2-year period because if you do that, you'd have time to gauge its impact on the county. Now, to describe the ordinance or the statute itself, the statute provides tax rebates of up to $350 for married filers, $175 for single filers, for 9 different income ranges, ranging from people who make incomes of 0 to those who make incomes of $24,000. So just as an example, those earning $0 to $8,000 would receive a 75% rebate based on their property taxes of up to $350 for a married couple. For if you earn up to $24,000, you'd receive a 35% rebate. So it goes from a max of 75 to a minimum of 35% depending on your income. Now, the taxpayer would receive a rebate in the amount provided for their income range by filing it on their state income taxes. Then by December 31st of the year immediately following the first year the tax rebate is in effect, the Taxation and Revenue Department will certify to the county the amount of the loss of tax revenue to the county. And the county will then have to pay that amount to the state. So basically, the county would reimburse the state for the amount lost due to the rebate. Now, once again, the county gets to determine how long it wants to provide the rebate. We're suggesting a 2-year. I've looked at there's 3 different counties that have enacted this rebate. There's Los Alamos, which has enacted it for 4 years, Doña Ana for 2 years, and then Santa Fe is perpetual until it's revoked. And 2 years, I think, is the minimum that you can do it because we have to reconsider in 2027 the way the statute is currently written. So I think Mr. Stark has compiled some statistics on what the possible impact to the county would be, and so I guess I'll turn it over to Mr. Stark.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Sawyer and commissioners. So you might recall at the last meeting, we presented some preliminary data compiled by Taxation and Revenue Department at the state level. We've since gone back to them, knowing this was going to be an item on the agenda, to look at the number of taxpayers that fall into the income ranges from 0 to 24,000. And we actually had them look at, and they extract the data by zip code. So if you're an individual, a taxpayer living on the Navajo Nation, you wouldn't be paying property taxes, and there wouldn't be a tax liability. So they removed those individuals from the list. And so in your packet, that brought the potential number of taxpayers who filed a tax return in 2023 down to 11,702. And so, the difficulty with this ordinance and trying to give you an exact estimate of what the financial impact would look like to the county is there's a lot of unknowns. The first unknown is how many individuals out of the 11,702 own a home and have a tax liability. The best we could do, at least in terms of trying to find and give you a kind of a high-end number, is that per the census, 72% of individuals in San Juan County own a home. So we took 11,702, multiplied it by 72%, and then knowing that the maximum amount that you could claim on your income taxes for a rebate is $350. The worst case scenario would be $2.9 million annually. But we also know that we've got experience from the 3 other counties, and that information is in your packet as well. And so for tax year 2023, this is also information provided to us by Taxation and Revenue Department. Doña Ana County, who has a population, just for comparison purposes, of 219,000 per the last census. It's actually 219,561. They had 1,330 taxpayers who filed for this rebate in tax year 2023, and the county had to come up with 371,182. For Los Alamos, they had 89 file, and it was $27,815. In Santa Fe, which is probably most comparable in terms of population to us, they're at 154,823. We're at 121,661. They had 1,262 taxpayers that filed, and that resulted in 405,000 $405,318 that they had to pay to state taxation and revenue department. Madam Chair, Commissioner Gonzalez, $405,318. And so we would expect, yes, it's just a lot of unknowns here about, how many folks own a home and have a tax liability, property tax liability, that they'd be eligible for the credit. And then, of course, there's the sliding rebate scale that would, depend how much of the total rebate they'd be eligible for. So the $2.9 million number is actually definitely the top end number. We believe we'd probably be closer to the $400,000 a year experience that's happened in Santa Fe and Doña Ana, would probably more likely what we would experience here. But staff is recommending that if you were to move forward with this, that you do so for a 2-year period to kind of analyze utilization by taxpayers, but also the financial impact on the county annually. And you would be able to do so in calendar year 2027 as it's required by law, at least currently, although there is a bill to change the provision for a public hearing being considered in Santa Fe right now. But that'd be an opportunity to take a look and see what kind of experience we had and what the financial impact would be.
Okay. Thank you. All right, are there any questions or comments for Mr. Stark?
So I do have one question. I'm not sure how to phrase it, but the sliding scale you talked about, does that affect the $350 and the whatever it is for a single, 175 or whatever it was? Does that affect that amount?
Madam Chair and Commissioner Lanier, yes, it would. So based upon, it's a percentage of the property tax liability. So probably be good to just use, let's say you had a $1,000 tax bill and your rebate, you were eligible for 75% of that. That would be $750. So you would be eligible, if you were in that category, for the full $350 rebate. If your percentage of tax liability was less than $350, and I'm using the married couple number, not the individual for $175. If it was less than that, then that would result in a lower rebate available to you.
Okay.
Any other question or comment?
And just to, Madam Chair, just to remind the commission, so you would be just approving the notice of intent to adopt, and then we would publish it in the newspaper, and then you'd consider the ordinance on March 18th. And I would suggest a roll call vote when you, depending on what the motion is.
If we chose to adopt or oppose?
Yes.
Either way.
Yes.
And so my question is, which part of the budget would this impact, our county budget?
Madam Chair, so, it would depend if you were to move forward with staff's recommendation of a 2-year, imposition and review. You would probably utilize reserve funds to cover 2 years. But if it was put in place on a permanent, perpetual basis, then we're talking about having to allocate recurring resources. So that would be recurring general fund dollars that would have to be allocated for that purpose. And, we're a little cautious, I can tell you from a staff perspective, because of some of the challenges we still have economically hanging out there with Four Corners Power Plant looking to potentially close in 2031. They're our largest taxpayer in the county. The unknown impact of the veterans exemptions that were passed by the voters by constitutional amendment last session. Federal funding, which I'll give you an update in my manager's report. We had a little scare last Monday regarding a memo we received, and the federal funding that we receive through PILT and other grants, and then other legislative impacts we might have with Paid Family Medical Leave Act. If that were to pass, that has a direct cost to the employer and employee. Here at the county with para, we see, and we're in the last year of a 4-year 0.5% per year increase to the employer and employee related to that program. So we would be cautious, or would caution the board in not, at least at this point, if you wanted to consider this, of not making it permanent up front, and then to allow for analysis after a 2-year period. Would really recommend that to you.
And I don't think this would happen at the county, but I've seen it on state boards where they would go and get fine money, sweet money from budgets in order to make up the state budget. So I don't know that anything that would happen at the county level unless there's a clawback because of certain funding that we had. But have you seen that happen at the county level?
Madam Chair, we have. I want to say back in 2015, when the state budget was extremely tight. At the time, the governor was not interested in raising taxes. So there was a review of available funds and balances, cash balances within the counties, municipalities, trying to find ways to claw back revenues and or impose taxing authority on the counties, not the state, the counties, to impose new taxes. Hold harmless would be a great example of that, where that funding was drawn back from the top 20 municipalities and top 13 counties. In fact, that still impacts us today in an annual reduction in funds as a result of that legislation. But taxing authority was granted by the state for the local governments to impose new taxes, not the state of New Mexico. So yes, I have seen that happen before when things get tight at the state level.
Okay, all right.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
if I understand this right, so many unknowns, Mr. Stark. On a 2-year payout, I understand it, the estimate for 1 year would be about $2.9 million on the high side, but actual could be about 400,000, 450,000. So 2 years, you're looking at about $5.8 million on the high side, but actual could be about 800, 900,000 payout for the 2 years. You know, that, not knowing, that sounds reasonable. And if we're looking to for a motion to approve this for a 2-year plan with the ability to come back after 2 years and amend that depending on the impact it is going to have on the county, we have that opportunity. Is that right?
Madam Chair and Commissioner Gonzalez, you would. Actually, the way the ordinance is structured, it's set up to expire after 2 years. And so you would then have to revisit. It wouldn't, I guess there could be an opportunity to amend the ordinance to extend it beyond that point in time, or you may just want to conduct a brand new hearing to determine whether or not it's something you want to continue with, and it may result in a brand new ordinance. But I would defer to our county attorney on how that might play out in a couple of years.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Gonzalez, the way the statute is currently written, you would reevaluate in 2 years regardless, and then you could either enact a new ordinance for whatever period you choose, or decide not to reenact the ordinance.
So by that time, we would have a clearer understanding or a closer figure as to what that impacted the county, right? After those 2 years, we'd know where we were at.
Yes, Madam Chair, Commissioner Gonzalez, yes, you'd have those 2 years to look at, and then you'd have a track record.
Madam Chair, if I could. Madam Chair and Commissioner Gonzalez, actually come 2027, because this is a income tax rebate that's taken. And that's why we only have 2023 numbers, because everybody's busy right now trying to file your 2024 taxes, at least until April 15th. That you would only have 1 year's worth of data, and it would be for 2025, because we wouldn't know by the end, we would only have made payment at the end of 2025, because you wouldn't know or actually the end of 2026, you wouldn't know what the impact has been from those that haven't filed yet when you're getting to January of 2027. But at least you would have 1 year's worth of data, and you could compare then to the 3 other counties out of 30 that currently have this tax rebate in place.
would still be on the hook for one more year.
Correct.
Did you have a question?
No question.
No
but,
question.
The clarifications on your question, I'd like to make a motion
Okay.
to approve the notice of intent to adopt San Juan County ordinance number 128, creating low-income tax rebate.
Okay.
With, do I have to add the 2-year?
Yes,
Yeah.
please. Thank you.
And with the, how do I word it?
Commissioner Terracini, I think you've worded it correctly, just with the 2-year, for
Okay.
tax years 2024 and 2025. Oh, did I misspeak?
25 and 26.
I'm sorry, 25 and 26.
Okay, thank you. That's my motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
I will second it.
Okay, then is there any comments or questions? Hearing none, then I'll do a roll call. Commissioner McDaniel,
Aye.
Commissioner Totacini,
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
I'll abstain. Can I? Just not vote on it?
No, you-
Just hold myself?
You're the one that did this.
No, I'm just kidding. No, yay.
Okay, and Commissioner Lanier?
Aye.
And my vote's opposed. Okay, so we have a majority.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we'll go ahead and move on. So now we will have Michelle Truby-Tillin, consideration of application for variance from San Juan County Cannabis Regulation Ordinance number 120 for Lucky Hand Cannabis LLC.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Lucky Hand Cannabis LLC submitted a variance petition application to the Community Development Department on September 10th, 2024, seeking a variance from Section 3A of Ordinance Number 120, the minimum separation distance from a residence requirement. Lucky Hand Cannabis LLC wishes to become a microbusiness cannabis producer with an indoor grow operation utilizing an existing structure at 297B Road 6100 in Kirtland. The proposed grow operation is within 300 feet of 18 residences, and of those residences, 3 are within 100 feet, 7 are within 200 feet of the proposed grow structure. The applicant is seeking a variance to last the life of the business at this location. A public hearing was held before Hearing Officer T. Ryan Lane on January 7, 2025. Mr. Wayne Witt, the resident of 5 Road 6255, which is located approximately 123 feet from the proposed grow operation, opposed the requested variance at the hearing. The residents of 301 Road 6100, 20 foot from the proposed grow, submitted written opposition, and the resident of 6 Road 6248, which is 299 feet from the proposed grow, requested his phone-in opposition be submitted by staff. Hearing Officer Lane submitted written findings and conclusions and recommends the request for variance be denied, as the granting of the application would be contrary to the intent of San Juan County Ordinance 120 due to the applicant not meeting the following criteria listed in Section 5 of Ordinance 120. 5A, petitioner willingly entered into a lease agreement for the property after the adoption of San Juan County Ordinance 120, which said ordinance precludes petitioner's intent use of the property because of its proximity to neighboring residences. 5B, the presence of 18 residences within 300 feet of the proposed cannabis business does not constitute a minimum easing of the ordinance requirements. 5C, the criteria that granting of the variance is in harmony with the general interest, the general purpose of the ordinance, and is injurious to the neighborhood or otherwise detrimental to the public welfare has not been met. The hearing officer gives significant weight to the sheer number of residences that are located within 300-foot radius impacted by the granting of the application. 5E, as the petitioner is leasing the property, they are free to seek other locations for the proposed business. Staff agrees with the hearing officer's findings and recommends that the criteria for variance approval has not been met.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I normally like to remind the commission at this time that, well, not the commission, actually, the public, that the commission won't be able to ask many questions here because this issue has already been conducted by a hearing officer. And so if they were to bring up new information by asking questions, it'd effectively be reconducting parts of the hearing. And that could violate the due process rights of parties who didn't realize that they were going to be rehearing the issue here tonight. So I just wanted to let the public know that that's why the commission probably won't be asking many questions. They're going to have to rely pretty much on the materials in their packet. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions or comments for Ms. Truby-Tillin? Okay, do you have a motion?
I will make a motion to deny the application for variance from San Juan County Cannabis Regulation Ordinance number 120 for Lucky Hand Cannabis LLC.
Okay. Do you have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. So now we'll go on to, oh, you're staying. Okay. Okay.
Still me.
Okay. Okay, and Shannon Wells. Okay. Consideration of resolution number 242555, a resolution directing the removal of dangerous and dilapidated building and of ruins, rubbish, wreckage, and debris from County Road 14, County Road 3490. I'm transposing my numbers. Flora Vista, New Mexico, in the unincorporated area of San Juan County, New Mexico, pursuant to San Juan County Ordinance number 127, nuisance abatement.
And with that, I think we win the longest title.
I think so too. That's long.
San Juan County has struggled over the years to gain voluntary compliance from property owners who are in violation of county ordinances such as Ordinance 4, 72, and 73, refuge, litter, and garbage, and hazardous waste, junk vehicle and junk mobile home, and trash and refuge disposal and accumulation relatively. These ordinances are aimed at cleaning up San Juan County to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. The County Code Enforcement Division has made diligent efforts to gain voluntary compliance from property owners and has cited and prosecuted numerous cases in magistrate court when these attempts were not successful. The Community Development Department has operated a voluntary cleanup program since 2006 aimed at assisting low-income residents with cleanup projects for nominal fees. While many cleanups have been completed through this program, countless properties remain out of compliance due to lack of owner interest or cooperation, lack of county resources, or property owners not meeting low-income requirements. When violations persist, they often develop into more serious problems and become nuisances affecting the safety and welfare of the general public. In an attempt to address these nuisance properties, in July of 2024, the Board of County Commissioners adopted Ordinance number 127, the Nuisance Abatement Ordinance, essentially codifying powers already inherent under state statute, NMSA 1978, Section 3, 18.5. Ordinance 127 establishes the procedure for the county to use after other available tools have been unsuccessful, I'm having trouble talking, apologize. Unsuccessful to determine when a nuisance exists and to abate the nuisance at the expense of the property owner. The subject property is a parcel located in the unincorporated portion of San Juan County at 14 Road 3490 in Flora Vista, New Mexico. County Code Enforcement Division has exhausted all available means to gain voluntary compliance with this property. Code Enforcement believes the owner of the property has been deceased for over a decade, and the individual who has claimed responsibility for the property since that time is now deceased. Currently, there is no available owner or reasonable agent for Code Enforcement to attempt to work with. Code Enforcement has done a lengthy and thorough investigation into the conditions of the property. After investigation, Code Enforcement has concluded that current conditions at the subject property are causing a nuisance due to issues including dilapidated structures, overgrown trees and plants, excessive junk, trash, and debris, and squatters living on the property and campers not hooked to utilities but using unsafe heating devices instead. These nuisance conditions present a serious fire hazard, increased likelihood of rodent infestation, unwanted nuisance wildlife, and an attractive area for squatters to reside, which invites illegal drug activity and jeopardizes the safety and well-being of neighborhood residents. Due to all of these findings, the code enforcement officer has concluded that the nuisance condition on the subject property are a menace to the public comfort, health, and safety of the county. Should the board approve Resolution 242555, the resolution will be physically posted on the premises and will also be published one time in the newspaper of general circulation within the county. Should the owner, occupant, or agent in charge of the property fail to remove the dilapidated structures, campers, overgrown vegetation, excessive junk, trash, and debris, etc., within 10 days from posting and publication of the notice, the county will remove such dilapidated structures, campers, overgrown vegetation, excessive junk, trash, and debris, etc., as described in the code enforcement's report. The reasonable cost of the removal shall constitute a lien against a parcel of land. Code enforcement requests the board approve Resolution 242555, and Officer Wells is here to answer any particular questions you may have about the property or the process.
Thank you, good job. All right, are there any comments or questions? All right.
And Madam Chair, this isn't like the last one. You're free, the commission is free to ask any questions you have about the property.
It's not cannabis.
Right.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution number 242555 and recommend that we move forward with it.
Okay.
I will second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to Mr. Smith for the strategic plan 2022 to 2024 initiative year in review. Hello.
Hello, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Tonight, I want to come before you to give an update for some and perhaps maybe even a first look for others at San Juan County's 2022 to 2026 adopted strategic plan. At the September 7th, 2021 regularly scheduled meeting, the County Commission adopted a new strategic plan for the 2022 to 2026 calendar years. The plan consisted of 20 initiatives surrounding 4 themes: economy, place, people, and relations. The plan was posted on the website, disseminated throughout the county facilities, discussed at the last 2 State of the County Department elected office meetings, and provided to various interest groups throughout the county. Shortly after adoption, the county manager's office met with affected departments and elected offices to brainstorm specific achievable tasks that could be taken to accomplish the initiatives adopted by the commission. Additionally, as a means of better and efficient tracking of each task, the county signed a contract with a company called Achieve It that provides software for projects such as this, just tracking plans and the performance and completion of those things. At the conclusion of 2024, the county successfully accomplished the commission's 11 initiatives for the 2022 to 2024 calendar years. The strategic initiatives for those years so far, to where we're at so far, are Make Us Shine, tree planting, supporting law enforcement, shopping local, countywide recreation, building a film industry hub, staff development, support drilling, internship programs, energy hubs, and making this more of a retirement destination. Details of the individual tasks accomplished are included in the attached strategic plan update, which is on the screen for everyone to see now. Let's see here. So for 2022, Make Us Shine, go through some of these for you. The very first item on my presentation here support law enforcement. During that time, in 2022, had a lot of good things happen. We got a new helicopter and hangar, which I'm sure some of you are aware. We did a lot of law enforcement appreciation activities, law enforcement and detention officer. We had some thank you banners made up and put up for Law Enforcement Appreciation Month. We, through the use of grants and commission approval, we kind of got a more proactive market for hiring. We hired a recruiter and got some grants to give hiring bonuses and retention bonuses. That really helped out a lot. A new project, maybe not so much in 2022, we just got a grant to buy a new mobile command center to help support our law enforcement. So the graphic you can see there, the graph on the right, shows you the things that are on track and the things that have already been achieved. And just as a note, just because they're still on track from 2022 doesn't mean that we didn't achieve what we were after. It just means that we're still working on it. We didn't stop working on these things just because it was 2022. Another initiative for 2022 was Shop Local. We coordinated with Four Corners Economic Development and chambers of commerces from the surrounding areas to see what we could do to spend our money here, the money that we're using to improve our community, spend that money locally rather than giving it to somebody outside of our community. So that was a big push and a big effort. And you can see the numbers from 2022, the local cities and areas where money from San Juan County was spent. Another initiative for 2022, Make Us Shine. You can see things on there, single stream recycling, educating on littering, New Mexico DOT highway cleanups. I'm sure some of you are aware, but twice a year we go out and do a big highway cleanup. This year we did 550 all the way from Aztec to the state line, Colorado state line. We did that in coordination with the NMDOT and members of San Juan County, or employees of San Juan County went out and spent a day cleaning up the highway. Some pretty cool stuff. Voluntary private land cleanups, BLM land cleanup initiatives, things of that sort. Also in 2022, tree planting. We made a big effort to try and plant more trees on county-owned facilities. Everybody loves shade, and trees are good and beautiful. So since this initiative has been out there, 87 trees have been planted on San Juan County property, and there's plan to plant more when the springtime arrives and the growing season is good. We're also working with our extension office. As many of you are aware, we're building a brand new extension office building down here, and they are working on plans to do some tree planting down there. They've already planted a bunch of trees down at the Growing Forward farm, so that's been a neat opportunity too to get them involved. Moving on for 2022, in 2023, countywide recreation was an initiative. Some great things that come out of that. Just promoting recreation and health benefits. There's been a lot of media, social media messaging, billboards, digital billboards, just kind of getting the message out there to our community, the health benefits of being active and being outdoors and doing things like that. Gravel guidebook, I think some of you are aware that's something that's recently accomplished that I personally think is really, really neat. Especially for people from outside of the area that have moved here, but I think even there's a lot of people within the area here who don't realize this network of roads and recreation opportunities that are unique to this area, where you can get out and see the countryside. It's accessible to almost anybody. You can drive cars and stuff out there, but the bicycling and that sort of thing is really kind of unlimited and very unique, and really cool thing about the area we live in. The Cali del Norte Bike Park is a skills facility, mountain bike skills facility. They've got everything from mild to wild. There's jumps, there's balance beams, there's all kinds of fun stuff to do out there. And we developed that in coordination with the BLM and got that park put together. Even got some restroom facilities put out there that I saw the community, the bicycling community was extremely thankful to have. Cedar Hill Boat Ramp was another project we got put in up near the state line where people can launch rafts for just recreation or fishing or whatever they'd like to do down the Animas River to get down here to Farmington. Continuing 2023, so the film industry hub. Construct a film backlot. We completed with some grant funding it's called the Middle Eastern Village, and it is it's just a filming location out at our industrial park out there with the big facility that's out there. There's some vacant land that provided some opportunity to construct a back lot in kind of a rural setting. It's I don't know, it's kind of a little village built with Pueblito type structures, and we're hoping to get some good interest from people wanting to film some movies out there. Again, we coordinate with Chamber of Commerce, the Chamber of Commerce, as Enforce said, with those activities as well, and get their input and see how we can do better with that and promote those kinds of things. Yeah, part of the Middle Eastern Village, it's actually in the process of being certified as a state qualified production facility. And what that certification does is gives filmers, directors, I don't know the terminology, but production companies, yes, thank you, Devin. Production companies gives them some tax-free or tax advantages for filming here at that location. So that's neat. Staff development. So this is something that, you know, some internal focuses that we have here within the county, within county employees. There was a satisfaction survey developed. It had been going on, but it was kind of resurrected during this time, and for the last 2 years has been going strong and identified some some really good things about being employed at San Juan County. And I wouldn't say there's really any bad things about being employed here, but maybe some improvements we can make to attract more people and help people want to stay here. So that's been really good. Succession planning, our HR department and the various departments here within the county are working really hard to make sure that when one retires, there's another one following along to fill their shoes. Saw some of that here tonight with Charles, I guess. But just trying to keep those things in mind and make sure we have strong leadership as the years go on and people retire and move on. NACO High Performance Leadership Academy, I can say that I have personally benefited from that already. I've been here 2.5 years, but early on, I was afforded the opportunity to go through the NACO Leadership Academy, and was a really good thing for me and much appreciated, and just another one of those things that makes a person want to keep working here, you know, and tell their friends to come work here. So. For 2023, let's see, support drilling. There's been a bunch of regional hydrogen projects, stuff trying to get off the ground here, Libertad, Intech, and others. And we've really been working with industry professionals and legislators and everyone involved to try and really put ourselves in a position to be a place that those companies want to move to and support that industry here and kind of, you know, boost our economy and help that out. Current oil and gas extraction is kind of the same way, you know, has been, will be a big thing in this area for a long time to come. And we just really been trying to make sure we do all the things we need to and that we can to help support that activity here. It's been our bread and butter for a long time. Not that it's going to be forever, but definitely want to try and help it out as much as we can. Part of these efforts have been becoming a member of BREC, is what it's called, Building Resilient Economies in Coal-Affected Communities. And it's kind of a cohort. There's really no money involved, but it's people from all over the nation that have had their coal-fired power plants shut down, their coal mines shut down, all these big industry producers, and what these communities have done to change their focus and change their economy and keep things going, keep the lights turned on. You know, whether it be promoting recreation or trying to get regional hydrogen projects set up in their neighborhood, things of that nature. So that's been really helpful as well. Moving on from 2023 and 2024, we focused on some internship programs for the community, and you know, helps the community and it helps San Juan County as well in recruiting employees. Focused on some work-based learning and creating additional intern programs, expanding the peer mentoring program that we already kind of had, incorporating internship education into the government day that we have every year, which I believe is coming up again pretty quick, and just kind of make students aware and that there are internships and that the county is a good place to work, and just kind of getting that on their mind. Let's see. Energy hub, so support drilling, never mind. Okay, so for 2024, energy hub, again, just focusing on really sticking with kind of, well, I don't know, to me, in my time, the roots of this place is being an energy hub, producing electricity, oil and gas activity and that kind of thing. And as we move on from that, supporting solar projects and supporting carbon capture projects and supporting nitrogen or hydrogen production and things of that sort. Just all things energy, new things, old things, all the things, just however we can. And making this a retirement destination. So along with trying to attract folks that want to come here and bring businesses and technologies and ideas, and this is sort of the same people, but just making this a place that people want to retire and come to and be a beautiful place to come and live, and, you know, have their grandkids and their families come visit them here and recreate, and just really just drawing people in. Been coordinating with the Chamber of Commerce's and Forset on that as well. We've been trying to really expand rural senior center services and yeah, things of that. So what we've got coming up, so we're a little over halfway through this strategic plan. Here pretty soon we'll have to get together and come up with the next one for 2027 and on. But for 2025, we're going to be focusing on local agriculture, community resource centers, manufacturing recruitment, Navajo Nation relations, housing programs, and in 2026, the strategic initiatives that we chose to focus on are recreational equipment manufacturing, behavioral health, rail to trail expansion, and the freight rail line, which I think has been coming along fairly well. That one seems to be really promising and be a really good thing for our area. But yeah, I think that's all I've got for you tonight, unless there's some questions anybody has.
Okay, thank you. Have any questions or comments?
Got a lot going on.
There's a lot, always a lot.
Thank you for recapping that, and we'll start sometime when you think, Mike, in 2026 to start thinking about the next strategic building on from that.
Madam Chair, that's a good question. We, you know, you might remember in 2021, we started in January, and it took a full year to go from the input sessions that we had working with the consultants to help facilitate that, to ultimately the public meetings we held to get input from our citizens on what they thought the priorities needed to be, and then ultimately bringing those to the county commission for approval. So I would say January of 2027 would be a good time to start and give us a full year to work on it and make sure we get the right priorities and initiatives in there that you all want to see and get the plan adopted by the end of the year. So we're ready to hit the ground running the next year.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
All right, so now we'll move on to a report from our county manager.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I just had a couple quick updates. As I always do, I want to make sure with us being in the middle of the 60-day legislative session that you get a brief update. As of today, as of right now, 547 bills have been introduced into both houses, so lots of legislation being introduced. In most cases, a lot of these bills haven't even had their first committee hearing yet. Others, maybe their first. And so it's still young for the session in Santa Fe. In fact, the last day to introduce bills is February 20th, so we've got a long runway still for more activity. And as you know, compiling a tracking list, forwarded that to you yesterday. Between the county executive office and the legal department, we're tracking 91 bills that we think have some potential impact or benefit on the counties in San Juan County. So those are in your list. And as those progress, depending upon which way things are heading and what new legislation is introduced, we'll certainly make sure we keep you informed on that and bring to any bills that we see that may be of concern. So the federal funding, we mentioned that earlier, and I sent you an email earlier today, just providing you awareness. We had a little scare last Monday with an OMB memo that didn't have great clarity and indicated that all federal funding was frozen immediately to everyone, including state and local governments. And it was good in a way. Ultimately, that memo was rescinded, so that was the good part. But it also was good for us to just make sure we review what that means to San Juan County. And we're the recipient of quite a few direct federal dollars. In fact, 4.5 million annually. So that means recurring dollars. And then the largest part of that is the payment in lieu of taxes payment we receive annually in June from the federal government. And then we have a number of one-time grants that we receive directly from the federal government. Some of those were mentioned tonight. The Mobile Command Center for the Sheriff's Office and Fire Department. The SCBA's for the fire department that were congressionally directed spending requests. And so the total on those to date is we have 2.6 million of those federal grants that are out there. So I just wanted to bring that to your awareness. Because it would have an impact if there was an across-the-board cease and desist of distributing federal dollars, and we would feel it. It would be, we feel it pretty heavily here relative to certainly the recurring dollars that we receive. And last, I just want to update you, and Mr. Neely is going to pull up a video. We have finished up improvements to the San Juan County Industrial Park. You might recall we received speaking of a federal grant, an economic development assistance grant to make, it was a in total $2.3 million grant we received, 1.6 million from the federal government to make improvements to that facility that we acquired from BHP Billiton back in 2006. You might recall, some of you, Pesco had occupied that facility for 10 years, and then we went looking for a new tenant. This thing called COVID hit, and we actually had it on the agenda in February to have the new tenant, new lease agreement approved, and they rightfully backed out with the uncertainty of COVID and the economy. It's sat vacant ever since, but the grant we received to make improvements to the facility, which included some definite gaps that our previous tenant had mentioned to us, which included broadband, natural gas. We actually received a separate grant, and I want to thank the New Mexico Economic Development Department. It's $2.8 million to run a natural gas line up to the facility. That is the one remaining piece to the facility that hasn't been completed, but New Mexico Gas Company has indicated they look to start that project in April. They've just been working on acquiring right of way, but they're almost there. And then come summer of this year, we'll have that project completed. But in the interim, we are actually ready to market this facility. In fact, it's going to be made available to San Juan County and nationally and even internationally. I know we have a company that's been looking at this from abroad just because of some opportunities with fly ash. But we're going to advertise this starting on February 10th. And so this will be a request for applications for any companies that are interested in leasing the industrial building, the ancillary buildings around it. They're all contained within the 45-acre parcel. To help facilitate that, Mr. Neely had worked to have this marketing video developed, so we'd just like to quickly share this with you as well as the audience about what that facility looks like now, what we've got to offer San Juan County.
San Juan County Industrial Park, your gateway to opportunity in San Juan County, New Mexico. Spanning over 133 acres, this industrial hub offers 45 continuous acres primed for development, with the infrastructure and space to support diverse industries. At the heart of the industrial park is a 42,000 square foot facility, featuring a 19,200 square foot shop, equipped with 2 overhead bridge cranes, offering a clearance of 50 feet, as well as a 10-ton gantry crane. This workspace is built for heavy industrial operations. The building also includes warehouse space, locker rooms, and 8,200 square feet of attached office space to seamlessly integrate administration and production. The park boasts robust utilities and site features, including electricity, a 13.8 kilovolt three-phase service with transformer capable of handling up to 5 megawatts without immediate upgrades. Plans for future capacity increases are underway. Natural gas. A new gas line extension is expected by summer 2025, offering an estimated 1.2 million BTU capacity. Water and wastewater. The site is served by the Upper La Plata Water Users Association, with lagoons supporting wastewater needs for up to 8,200 gallons per day. Ample parking. The facility offers extensive parking areas for employees, visitors, and industrial vehicles. The park is conveniently located just 1.5 miles from Highway 170 and within a 20-mile drive to US Highway 64, providing seamless connections to regional and national markets. Additionally, the park features no zoning requirements and no nearby neighbors, offering businesses maximum flexibility for operations. While direct rail access is not available, alternative routes and highway connectivity ensure efficient logistics. This property has a rich history of industrial use, previously supporting heavy manufacturing and energy development operations. Now, with upgrades to broadband, fire suppression, and lighting, the San Juan County Industrial Park is ready to meet the demands of modern industries. Whether you're in energy, manufacturing, or industrial production, this site provides the flexibility, infrastructure, and support needed to succeed. With public ownership ensuring harmony and strategic oversight, you'll find this site is truly built for growth. Explore the opportunities at the San Juan County Industrial Park, where innovation meets access. Contact us today to schedule your tour and discover how this property can power your success. Visit sjcounty.net/industrial park or call 505-334-4271 for more information.
That's very nice.
Yeah. That's obviously what we're trying to do with this park, it has been since the day we acquired it, is to find that company that brings in economic-based jobs to help replace some of those economic-based jobs that we've lost. Creates, new tax revenue, new tax base here in the county. And we've got a lot to offer now. And this video is posted on our website and will be part of the marketing package and trying to find that right company that we ultimately will bring to you, hopefully, to approve a lease agreement and get them occupying that facility as soon as possible. So
great.
Just want to make you aware that that project is almost done and ready for occupancy. So
Awesome. That's good. Thank you.
That's completes my report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stark. So we'll move on now to elected officials or department heads. So any elected official has anything, and we'll go ahead and come on up, Sheriff.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and congratulations on your appointment. And Commissioners, love to see you this evening, and I also want to welcome Commissioner Gonzalez. Good to see you, sir. Commissioner Lanier.
Thank you.
I'm your County Sheriff, Shane Ferrari. It's a pleasure to serve with you as part of our elected team. Before I begin, I first want to thank Chief Vega for that awesome presentation that he put on. I do want to bring up the fact that he showed a picture of my house and where I fall in this fire line. I think that was deliberate, so I won't be sleeping for the next 3 months. So any funding that you see fit to take out of his budget for my pain and suffering and place in mine, we completely understand. So thank you. But we do support our firefighters, the great work they do. So thank you all very much. The reason I would like to come up and speak to you today is we have a new presidency, and with the new presidency, you'll see new mandates, and probably what's been leading the headline the most is immigration. And at first, we see a lot of things that are happening on TV, and primarily in the bigger areas, Chicago, Denver. You've heard quite often about these illegal immigrants and gang activity happening, and currently ICE raids happening and targeting these criminals. Now it's come almost to our home base, as you've seen some reports in the news media from the Navajo Nation president and also from the Southern Ute council members about the impacts of immigration raids on our Native American community. And that's caused some fear, and as it hits into social media. Well, as a chief conservator of the peace, it's very important for me to look into these matters. I can tell you that there are no ICE operations happening in San Juan County. And that includes the conversation I've had with Navajo PD, that there's no ICE activities happening at that time. I did also have a conversation last week with the special agent in charge of HSI, that's Homeland Security, who covers Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. And he's called a meeting with the sheriffs that will take place this Thursday to give us a better idea of what their priorities are and what their activities are. I will tell you that any of our federal partners that have worked in San Juan County are always very good about communicating with us about any operations that happen. That way we can deconflict anything that may be an operation they have, so we don't have any blue on blue incidents. We're aware of what they're doing. A lot of times there's partnerships that go on, but none of that's happening at this point. So if you receive any calls from any of your constituents concerned about those things, remember that there is no activity happening in San Juan County at this time. And in our brief conversation with him, what they are targeting right now is criminals. They are not targeting undocumented persons at this time. They're not out on the street, and if somebody has an accent, they're not requiring them to prove citizenship, or if they drive on the wrong side of the road, of course we're going to contact you. But there's none of that happening right now. So I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Sheriff. Anybody have any questions or comments? Thank you for keeping us safe. Thank you for your report.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Do we have any department heads that have a report?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. My name is Charlotte Stanley. I'm the Director for the Housing Authority, and I wanted to just come up and give you a quick update of what's happening with the funding. And we've been in contact with the federal government, of course, and they are sending us reports that we have to really keep a close eye on our budget for this year. They're proposing to send us 88% of our funding from last year. What that means is we will not be able to issue any new vouchers this year. So right now we are supporting, or we're assisting 232 tenants. Our monthly budget right now is $129,000. So just wanted to give you a quick update.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Good evening.
Hi, Madam Chair and members of the commission. For those of you that may not know me, my name is Shay Arnhammer. I'm a division chief with San Juan County Fire and Rescue. Chief Vega asked me to give you an update on a health and wellness program that I've been developing for our agency. It's got kind of a few different layers to it. The first portion is I'm going through a training to become a physical fitness trainer as well as a nutritionist to make sure that our members are fit for duty for the community and any emergencies that they may have. Additionally, through this program, I've figured out that in order to take care of your body, you also have to take care of your mind. So we've also partnered with some mental health professionals to bring in to speak to our firefighters. Historically, I think that mental health has kind of been taboo in the first responder realm. It's a lot better than it used to be. It's still kind of, here's what you're going to see, here's how it's going to affect you, make sure you reach out to somebody. So instead of being reactive to bringing someone in to speak to our members after an incident happens, we're going to be proactive and bringing someone in prior to. One thing that I've learned myself through this mental health journey is that life doesn't stop outside of the four walls of the firehouse, and life can be difficult on its own. So one of the things that we're providing is quarterly trainings for all of our members that include the physical fitness, nutrition, but then also giving those mental health providers an opportunity to provide advice that may resonate with those folks, like work-to-life balance, recognizing and preventing burnout. Another aspect to it is bringing those mental health providers in weekly to hang out at the stations to help build rapport with our firefighters and providing a space for them to go talk if needed, and not waiting until something bad happens before they need to go talk. And I stand for any questions if you have any.
Well, thank you for your work, and that's pretty exciting. When will you be done with your certification?
Hopefully within the next couple months. It's been a struggle juggling it because it is a self-paced course. So it's just finding the time to make sure I can push through and finish that.
Okay, well, good luck, and thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Sherry.
All right. Are there any other updates? All right. Then I think we've exhausted the agenda.
Citizen.
Oh, public input, sorry. All right, any public input? And comments are accepted in person, limited to 3 minutes. And to the subjects the commission has not previously discussed or formal action has not been taken, no formal action will be taken at this meeting that relates to comments or input from the general public. So if you step up to the podium.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Linda Corwin. And just really quickly, I wanted to give a big thank you to all the firefighters that went to California to help on those fires.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you. All right. Are there any other comments? All right. I think now we've exhausted the agenda, so it appears.